Ladies and gentlemen, you ever hear a story so insane that even Hollywood wouldn't dare put it in a script? Well, buckle up, because what's about to unfold makes your favorite crime series look like a bedtime lullaby. Whispers are getting louder, receipts are piling up, and the streets are convinced that Lil Meech, yes, that Lil Meech, has just been dragged straight into the bloody, still unsettled murder case of JayDaYoungan. Coincidence? Oh please. According to sources who definitely shouldn't be talking, there's more to this than a stray rumor. We're talking secret calls at 3 a.m., shady meetups in parking lots, and a cover-up so sloppy it might as well have been live-streamed. And the question everyone's afraid to ask out loud, was Lil Meech just a bystander? Or was he playing a much bigger role in a story that the public was never supposed to hear? One thing's for sure, this isn't just about one murder. This is about power, money, and the dangerous truth that someone is clearly desperate to bury. Stay right where you are, because what I'm about to reveal will change the way you see everyone in this case. So let's start from the top, the night JayDaYoungan's life ended. It wasn't just another street beef gone wrong. No, this had all the hallmarks of a setup. The kind of move that doesn't just happen but gets planned, whispered about in corners, and executed with precision that screams, someone important wanted this done. Now on the surface, Lil Meech has always been the flashy, smile for the cameras type. Designer drip, expensive chains, and the family name that comes with its own weight in street credibility. But here's the thing, credibility cuts both ways. When you inherit the spotlight, you also inherit every shadow that comes with it. And in Lil Meech's case, that shadow is starting to look a lot like the one cast over JayDaYoungan's murder scene. Anonymous law enforcement sources, you know, the ones who somehow always find their way to the messiest blogs, claim that surveillance picked up more than just the usual suspects that night. There's talk of a blacked-out SUV, unregistered plates, and a figure whose build, posture, and even walk strongly resemble Lil Meech. Now, they aren't officially saying it's him. But you and I both know what they're really implying. And if you think this is some wild internet stretch, let's rewind a bit. Because there's history here, messy, unpolished, and buried under layers of PR-friendly distractions. Months before the murder, there were already whispers of tension between the two camps. Not direct beef, but, let's just say business entanglements. JayDaYoungan was reportedly working on a collab that could have shifted the balance in a certain music circle, a collab that allegedly cut out a few people who expected to be in on the profit. According to one industry insider, that decision didn't sit right with some folks who ain't used to being told no. Translation? Jay was stepping on the wrong toes, and those toes had money, reach, and a temper. Enter Lil Meech. Around the same time, he's spotted hanging out with mutual associates, the kind of guys who aren't on Instagram live every day but have their hands in everything from concert promotions to private security. You see where I'm going with this? Then came that night. Multiple gunmen, a coordinated hit, and an exit so clean it looked like the script from a high-budget crime drama. And yet, within hours, the rumor mill was in overdrive. One burner account claimed, Meech wasn't pulling the trigger, but he knew who was. Another said, he left town 2 hours later, private jet, no trace. Convenient timing, huh? Of course, the official line from Meech's camp is the predictable he had nothing to do with it. But in the streets, denials don't mean much when the puzzle pieces start snapping together. And it's not just the streets talking. Leaked texts, allegedly from someone close to the investigation, show conversations about keeping certain names off the paperwork and making sure it looks like a random act. Now, I'm not saying these texts are real, but if they are, someone in power was playing cleanup before the blood was even dry. You think that's bad? Wait till you hear about the money trail. Financial records, the kind you only get if you know someone who knows someone at the bank, reportedly show a sudden transfer of $150,000 to an LLC nobody's ever heard of. And guess what? That LLC is connected to a shell company whose listed address just happens to be in the same building as one of Meech's business ventures. Now, maybe that's a coincidence. Or maybe it's exactly what it looks like, hush money. Payment for silence. Or, as one so-called friend of a friend told me, it's the kind of money that says, forget what you saw. Meanwhile, JayDaYoungan's family has been vocal about wanting justice. But behind closed doors, sources say they've been warned not to push too hard. One cousin reportedly got an anonymous call telling them to let it go before you end up on a shirt too. That's not just intimidation. That's a threat straight out of a mob movie. And here's where things get even darker. Documents, allegedly from a police whistleblower, suggest that key security footage from that night malfunctioned. Convenient, right? And guess whose job it was to maintain those cameras? A private security firm that's been linked to events Lil Meech has headlined. Now, I'm not saying this is proof of anything, but it paints a picture, doesn't it? One where the lines between celebrity, street politics, and raw power blur so much you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. The blogs have been eating this up. Meme pages are dropping side-by-side photos of the SUV in question and Meech's known cars. Hashtag threads are dissecting his social media posts for clues, like the cryptic caption he posted just days after the murder, "Not everyone deserves the truth." Oh really, Meech? Then who does? And while his die-hard fans are defending him like it's their full-time job, the neutral crowd is starting to shift. You can only ignore smoke for so long before people start wondering where the fire is. But here's the thing. If even half of this is true, then this isn't just a scandal. It's a cover-up, one that's bigger, messier, and far more dangerous than anyone expected. And the most chilling part? If Lil Meech is involved, he's not the top of the chain. He's just another player in a game where the real power stays invisible and untouchable. Which begs the question, who's protecting him? Because someone clearly is. The kind of someone who can make evidence disappear, witnesses forget, and police reports read like they were written by a PR team. And that, my friends, is where we start peeling back the layers. Because the deeper you go into this story, the more you realize. JayDaYoungan's murder might have been just one move in a much bigger play. And trust me, once you see what that play is, you'll understand why so many people are scared to even say his name out loud. One viral post claimed to have exclusive audio from a police scanner the night of the murder. You could hear a dispatcher calling in multiple suspects fleeing northbound in a black SUV with tinted windows. The kicker? A voice, allegedly a responding officer, saying, "Copy. Looks like that BMF boy." Now, we can't confirm it's real, but in the court of public opinion, perception is reality. Then came the leaked police report, a blurry watermarked PDF that allegedly listed Lil Meech as a person of interest before the line was hastily redacted. Was it fake? Possibly. Did people care? Absolutely not. Screenshots of that one page racked up over 3 million views in less than 24 hours. And that's when the anonymous sources really started talking. One so-called insider told a blog, Meech was seen with one of the shooters just hours before it happened. Not in public, in a private lot, behind a strip club, no cameras. Another claimed, the getaway driver was someone from his old crew. They didn't just cross paths, they planned it. These aren't mild allegations, sob. These are career-ending, reputation-shattering bombs. But the wildest leak? The so-called parking lot footage. A 12-second shaky night vision clip showing a man with Meech's exact build, same chain, same hoodie color, walking toward the same make and model SUV from the scanner report. The face is conveniently blurred, because of course it is, but the caption from the account that posted it was ruthless. If you know, you know. Within hours, hashtags like #MeechInvolved and #JusticeForJay were trending. And as if that wasn't enough, a fake but plausible narrative began to circulate. JayDaYoungan had allegedly been planning to go public about certain financial dealings that would have embarrassed multiple people in the industry. The cover-up, according to these threads, wasn't just about murder, it was about silencing someone who knew too much. Meanwhile, Meech's PR team went into overdrive. Press statements, Instagram stories denying everything, and a carefully staged paparazzi shot of him innocently shopping with friends. But here's the problem. The harder you try to convince the public you're innocent, the guiltier you look when the receipts keep dropping. And oh, the receipts did keep dropping. A private Instagram DM, allegedly hacked from a mutual associate, showed a conversation where someone asked, "We good? Heat's off?" And the reply was, "Yeah, cameras down, phone's clean." Whether it's real or not, that little exchange set off another round of speculation. Who's talking about cameras being down right after a murder unless they're part of it? The public reaction wasn't just shock, it was outrage. Fans were split down the middle. The loyalists defended Meech like their lives depended on it, throwing out lines like, "Y'all always trying to bring a successful black man down," while the skeptics kept asking the same question. If he's innocent, why is every piece of this puzzle pointing at him? Even celebrities started weighing in. A rapper from Atlanta tweeted, "Ain't nobody clean in this game. Stop pretending." A Love and Hip Hop cast member posted a cryptic IG story, "Some of y'all talking too much. Karma don't miss." And an old collaborator of JayDaYoungan's went live on Instagram saying, "Jay told me straight up, if something happens to me, look at who wasn't supposed to be there but showed up anyway. Tell me that doesn't sound like a warning." And then there's the money. Remember that suspicious $150,000 transfer we mentioned in part 1? Well, more documents surfaced, this time showing that the LLC tied to the transfer was dissolved just 2 days after Jay's funeral. Why dissolve a company unless you're trying to erase a paper trail? One anonymous accountant, claiming to have worked for someone connected to Meech, said, "These shell companies ain't for taxes. They're for moving money you don't want traced." This one moved fast. Too fast. At this point, the media had a field day. Every gossip site, every drama channel, every so-called urban news outlet ran their own spin. Some went full throttle with Lil Meech mastermind behind murder cover-up headlines, while others kept it safe with questions arise around Lil Meech's whereabouts. But the scariest part wasn't the headlines, it was the silence from law enforcement. Weeks went by with no official statements, no arrests, no updates. And in that silence, the conspiracy theories grew louder. Was Meech being protected? Was this bigger than just one murder case? Some said the police were under pressure from higher-ups to let it fade. Others believed there were people in positions of power who owed favors to Meech's family, favors that were now being cashed in. And let's not forget the whispers about a certain retired officer who's been seen having lunch with one of Meech's uncles. Coincidence, or part of the chain? The online community wasn't buying the no-comment approach. Petitions started circulating demanding a federal investigation. Influencers made hour-long breakdown videos pointing out inconsistencies in the timeline. Even Reddit's conspiracy sub got involved, creating a massive web diagram connecting Meech, the SUV, the shell company, and a list of names most people have never heard of. And through all this, Meech stayed mostly quiet, except for one Instagram post that sent chills through anyone paying attention. A photo of him in a dimly lit room, captioned, "They talk, I live." Some called it arrogant. Others called it a confession disguised as a flex. The tension reached a boiling point when an alleged second whistleblower came forward, claiming that an unedited version of the parking lot footage exists, one where the man's face is visible, and it's 100% Meech. According to them, that footage is locked away in a private drive, waiting for the right buyer. Yes, sob, we're talking blackmail-level stakes. By now, the public wasn't asking if Meech was involved. They were asking how deep his involvement went. Was he the one who gave the green light? Was he just covering for someone else? Or was he a pawn in an even bigger game that none of us have the full picture of yet? And just when the noise felt like it couldn't get any louder, a new name started floating around. A name that could blow the lid off everything if proven true. A name that connects the money, the footage, and the silence from officials into one horrifyingly clear picture. That mystery name everyone was whispering about? Yeah, it wasn't just any random figure from the streets. It was Marcus Big Gage Rollins, a shadowy figure whose fingerprints have been all over some of the dirtiest behind-the-scenes deals in the rap game for over a decade. You've never seen him on a track, never heard him on a podcast, but you've definitely heard of the artists whose careers he's managed. And here's the bombshell. Big Gage isn't just connected to Meech socially. According to leaked documents, his name appears as an unofficial consultant on the very same LLC that received the $150,000 mystery transfer. In other words, that wasn't just hush money. It was a payout to someone who knows exactly how to bury a scandal 6 feet under without leaving dirt on your shoes. The leak came from an anonymous email sent to 3 major media outlets. The sender claimed to be tired of watching killers walk free, attaching scanned bank statements, property records, and here's the jaw-dropper screenshots of group chats where Meech, Big Gage, and 2 unnamed associates allegedly discussed making sure Jay never talks. Once this went public, the dominoes started falling. Federal investigators, the kind that don't care about street politics or PR spin, announced they were reviewing newly surfaced evidence in connection to JayDaYoungan's murder. And just like that, the game changed. Suddenly, people who'd been radio silent for months started remembering details. Witnesses came forward, anonymously of course, saying they saw Meech engaged together in the days before the murder. One even claimed they overheard a conversation about handling loose ends. Meech's camp scrambled. His lawyer released a furious statement calling the leaks fabricated slander and accusing internet clout chasers of trying to ruin a young man's career. But the louder the denials got, the more convinced the public became. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube once the whole neighborhood's watching you squeeze it. And then came the legal threats. JayDaYoungan's family filed a wrongful death civil suit, naming Meech, Big Gage, and the mysterious LLC as defendants. The suit alleged willful participation in a conspiracy to cause harm and demanded damages in the millions. While the criminal side was still under review, the civil suit guaranteed that this story wasn't going away anytime soon. The backlash in the industry was swift. Collabs were quietly pulled. Festival lineups suddenly dropped Meech's name without explanation. A few brave artists openly called him out, while others just unfollowed him and deleted photos like they'd never met. Brands? Forget it. No one wants to be in the splash zone of a scandal this toxic. But here's the thing, Meech didn't just go into hiding. Oh no. He doubled down. 2 weeks after the leaks, he went live on Instagram for over an hour, pacing around a dimly lit studio, chain swinging, voice sharp. He didn't name names, but he called out rats, fake friends, and bloggers who think they detectives. And in a moment that had the comments section exploding, he smirked and said, "Y'all ain't ready for the real story." Jay knew what it was. That one sentence set the internet on fire. Was he admitting something? Hinting at some secret beef? Or was it just another attempt to muddy the waters? Either way, it worked. Every platform was dissecting that clip like it was the Zapruder film. Meanwhile, more accidents kept happening. A key witness who'd been talking to investigators suddenly relocated and couldn't be reached. A small studio that allegedly had unreleased Jay tracks burned down in what officials called an electrical fire. And the unedited parking lot footage everyone had been hunting for? It was reportedly stolen from a private drive after a late-night break-in. It was clear, this wasn't just a scandal anymore. It was a full-blown war for control of the narrative. And the feds? Oh, they were watching. An inside source claimed that the FBI had quietly joined the investigation, focusing not just on the murder, but on financial crimes and racketeering patterns tied to multiple people in Meech's circle. In other words, if they couldn't nail him for murder, they'd find another way to put him in a jumpsuit. History's shown that's often how the biggest players fall, not from the crime itself, but from the paper trail it leaves behind. Public opinion was fractured. To some, Meech was still the charming, misunderstood son of a rap legend, being unfairly targeted. To others, he was a calculating figure who'd underestimated how fast secrets can rot in the dark. And JayDaYoungan's name? It became more than just a headline, it became a rallying cry. Fans demanded justice. Murals went up in his hometown. Artists dedicated songs to him, some subtly throwing shade at Meech. The streets were speaking, and they weren't whispering anymore. As weeks turned into months, one question lingered over everything. Would charges ever actually be filed? The leaks, the footage, the money trail, it was all damning in the public eye, but in court? That's a different beast. Without that one undeniable piece of evidence, Meech could still walk free. And maybe that's the most chilling part. Because if he does walk, it sends a message. In this game, power doesn't just protect you, it erases the truth. But here's what no one's talking about, yet. There are rumors, faint but persistent, that a third party was involved. Someone higher than Meech, higher than Gage, someone who sees all of this as just business. The kind of someone who wouldn't hesitate to set up one of their own if it meant tying off a loose end. And if that's true, then maybe Meech isn't the mastermind at all. Maybe he's the next target. Because in a world where loyalty is bought, secrets are traded, and lives are expendable, the only thing more dangerous than being guilty is knowing too much. And if the whispers are right, then this story, Jay's story, Meech's story, isn't over. Not by a long shot. The real ending? It's still being written, somewhere in the shadows, by people we'll never see coming, until it's too late. So here we are, 3 parts, countless leaks, and more unanswered questions than the day this story began. You've heard the whispers. You've seen the so-called receipts. And now you have to ask yourself, is this the truth? Or just the version they want you to believe? Because let's be real, in the world of power, money, and influence, truth is just a currency. It gets spent, flipped, and laundered until no one remembers what it originally looked like. And right now, the truth about Lil Meech, JayDaYoungan, and the cover-up that's been hanging over this case like a storm cloud. That truth is slipping through our fingers. But here's the thing, Sob. This isn't just their story. It's our story. We're the ones being fed polished statements, while the real conversations happen behind closed doors. We're the ones told to wait for the official investigation, while evidence conveniently disappears. So I'll ask you, if you were in Meech's shoes, with the walls closing in and every move you made being dissected by millions, what would you do? Keep denying? Come clean? Or make sure certain people never get the chance to talk? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No filters, no fear. I'm reading every single one. And if you've got your own theory, your own source, or your own piece of this puzzle, share it. The more voices we have, the harder it is for anyone to bury this. Hit that like button if you think this story still has layers left to uncover. Subscribe to Gossip Star Press so you're here when the next bombshell drops. Because trust me, this isn't over. The truth is coming. And when it does, somebody's empire is going to burn.